favor of taxes on individuals. And among individuals, years, and the explanation for the absurd inequality that is now so gross as to overshadow almost everything. So my first reaction, like many others, is why in the world haven't we long ago recognized the absurd consequences and reversed the process? Let's go back to the tax levels of the 60s and the 50s, because the irony is that we're not talking about confiscal, we're not talking about or anything like that. We're talking about American history, what our previous leaders, Republican and Democrat, thought was a reasonable amount of taxes. The basic idea always being you tax those most able to pay. A simple principle, directly applicable. It could be and should be done at all the levels. People should remember that if you think the federal taxes aren't fair, when you move to state and local, it's even grosser because the ability to pay criterion has virtually disappeared. So the opening gun of what I would say is a much more like the 50s and 60s level of taxes. And then beyond that,
that was good. Professor Richard Wolff, is economist.
Wealth taxes, which should have been part of the American scene, haven't been and are different from income taxes, and therein lies a whole other dimension we ought to explore.
Popular diabetes drugs linked to flesh-eating bacteria. Oh, that's not good, huh? Sorry about that.
Spectrum Mobile, you can bring your right for you. Get unlimited.
100 million people living in the United States today, and as such, obviously, big diabetes, pre-diabetes effects. And I'm joined by attorney Alex. We've learned are called guardians, and
the newest evidence as it says.
That's the flesh-eating.
Once you get this infection, and there's a few different types of bacterias that fall under this general category, but once you get this particular problem, the only way that they can and it is extremely painful. There's effective, and once that happens, the only way to fix it is to remove the infection, especially amongst men, in order to prevent the infection from spreading.
Is able to affecting women?
Sure, that's definitely one of the factors that shows that there's an increased risk. Generally speaking, in some of the large-scale studies they've done of this disease, there was one I saw, there's 1,600 diagnosed cases and only 40 of them were women. Whereas amongst the recent FDA notice, there were 55 identified cases, and about a third of those were women, as you said. One thing that also shows just how large the risk here is that in all of the other diabetes medications that are out there on the market, from metformin to insulin derivatives and other anti-diabetic medications, since 1984, there have only been 19 cases of Fournier's gangrene reported to the FDA. That means within 5 years, these drugs have seen 3 times as many reported cases as every other medication has seen in 35 years. I mean, this is a huge increase in the risk factor over any other medication that's out there on the market.
So the evidence is kind of stacking up at this point. You know, the FDA has the complaints, they have this data. It's all kind of been coming in for the last few years here. And Jardiance and Farxiga, these are things that we see advertised on TV quite frequently. And to me, that's one of the biggest dangers here is because, you know, first of all, when they do the little side effects part of the ad, typically they speak that at, I think it's a 12th grade level versus a 6th or 7th grade level for everything, all the good stuff about the drugs. And it's super fast. They try to make the screen more busy to distract you. But I don't even think in this case is that they've said, hey, this could cause necrotizing fasciitis. You could lose genital tissue. You could essentially have your life thrown upside down, ruined, you know, your body destroyed with these medications. Because again, based on the evidence we've got right now, that seems to be what's happening.
Sure. I mean, they're never going to put it in their marketing.
Right.
They're not going to say, well, this drug's going to help lower your A1C blood counts, and it's also going to probably get you a very dangerous infection in your genitals. They're never going to put that in the ad materials. The FDA, though, has forced them to change their drug label, which is what they provide to doctors. So the real question, and what we're probably going to see when we start getting into the documents from these companies, is that more likely than not, they're downplaying all of these risks to the doctors, and meanwhile trying to upsell all the benefits of the drug. One of the things that they always say with these drugs is that it's a novel mechanism of action, which they try to make it sound like it's new and exciting, when really what it means is it's untested and poorly understood. Just to give you a brief idea of what I mean by that, every other drug out there other than this class of drug that treats diabetes is either insulin itself or what are known as insulin sensitizers, meaning they help the cells in your body, your liver, your pancreas, everything absorb and create insulin. These drugs just flush the sugar right out of your system. And in doing so, that results in a condition known as volume reduction, which is what we think is what's causing these cases. Basically, your blood plasma gets thicker as you flush all of this sugar out of your system, usually through your urine. The analogy I would give is, you know, imagine you're watering your plants in your front yard with the hose. Well, imagine you replace the water now with motor oil. It's thicker. It's not going to reach all of those plants, especially the ones that are further away from you. And so what you see is that the skin cells that are hardest to reach, where the capillaries are smallest, the blood's not getting there as much. So the tissue's dying, but then it's also not getting white blood cells, so the infections take place and your body can't fight them. So this drug creates the condition that leads to the infection and then also prevents your body from fighting the infection. It's making every one of these conditions, which diabetics are already predisposed to, more dangerous.
And so anybody who's taking these medications, the Jardiance, the Farxiga, they need to talk to their doctors pretty much, you know, as soon as they can. You know, say, hey, listen, I've heard this about this medication. Is this the best medication for me? Is this a risk I need to be taking, or is there probably
That's pretty scary.
something else out there that I can take instead?
Absolutely. Any
That's
patient
terrible,
that's
man.
taking one of these medications should definitely talk to their doctor. There are a lot of diabetes medications out there, as I'm sure you know. There are a lot of alternatives to treatment with Farxiga or Jardiance. And so any patient that is, or any person out there that is taking these medications, is concerned about these risks, should definitely talk to their doctor and see if they can find an alternative.
Sounds great. Thank you very much, Alex Taylor. Thank you for talking with us. Thank you for telling us this story, and we will definitely be following up with you on this in the near future.
Thank you very much, Farron.
It's crazy. Wait, he was live. Shit.
It begins right now. To work to a goal, something this big that you're. Well,
And also,
Do you think that the state of Texas is ready for a real progressive?
I mean, we've been ready. Today was the first day of the launch, and I've already been out there and talking to people, and we've had overwhelming support from many members of the community, especially women that are coming up to me, and they're telling me, "Thank you for running. Thank you for having the courage to do this," because nobody had been standing up, and that is an amazing feeling because they're seeing themselves in our campaign. They're seeing themselves represented for the first time in 12 years. So no, to the people that say that this is, that South Texas isn't ready for progressive, that's not true. We just haven't had a choice, but we do have a choice now.
so I want to be clear on a couple of things. Jessica is not taking any corporate PAC money, of course. She's a Just Democrat, not taking any lobbyist money. Do you know what percentage of Cuellar's money came from small dollar donations?
Less than 1%. Less than 1%. It was for the last cycle.
Man, the freeway is busy as usual.
And in the first 4 hours
and
that we
westbound.
launched, we surpassed that.
Yeah, that's so funny. Okay, so Jessica had, in essence, two goals. The first one was pass the small dollar donations. That got done in about 1 minute. Okay. The second was try to raise $100,000 on the first day. Number one, you need that money to run. You need a campaign manager. You need a field director. You need this team to be able to actually win this seat and take it away from somebody who votes with Trump 70% of the time when it's a deeply blue seat. There's no reason why you should have it. Number two, you need it for extra media coverage, because if you have a lot of money, then the media goes, oh, wow, Jessica's serious, then we have to take her seriously, etc., which then gives you a further bump up. So, look, I want to give those websites and links to you right away. We're going to give it again at the end. But it's obviously Jessica Cisneros for Congress.com.
Jessica Cisneros for Congress.com in
/volunteer.
Texas.
Remember, a lot of these Just Democratic candidates are powered by their volunteers as well as your small dollar donations. She's, I think, right around 50,000 now. So we got about 12 hours left or so to get to the second 50,000. So all the money obviously goes to her campaign. Let's try to make that happen.
Yes, please. I mean, I'd appreciate all the support because, we need a primary, I almost said Republicans, it's true, Democrats like Cuellar because, by having Democrats like him in office is just a disservice to Democrats everywhere. If he's not going to get in line with the party and actually fight for what people in South Texas or, Democrats everywhere need, then we don't need somebody like that in office.
So, Jessica, there have been some news reports regarding the Koch brothers and how fearful they are of more AOC-like representatives getting elected into Congress. And so as a result, they've kind of shifted their fundraising strategy toward establishment Democrats who are being primaried. Is that something that concerns you at all?
No, because I really do think that this race is for la gente, for la people, and that's going to show up. That's going to, people are going to recognize that. So no, we're not afraid. I mean, we knew coming in what we're here. We're fighting it out.
Okay, so Jessica, you've got a series of accomplishments even at such a young age. You're a lawyer. You're a lawyer for immigrants and human rights causes. You won the Dean's Achievement Award, the Texas Law Fellowship Excellence in Public Interest Award. You were first in your class in high school. But why run? How did you get roped into running for Congress?
I mean, it sincerely, it came from, well, first of all, that experience of working with the office of Henry Cuellar and seeing that he was silent on so many issues. But secondly, and more recently, it has been my work as a lawyer. It's heartbreaking to work so hard and present the best case possible for your clients, and then to have judges say, I want to help you, but I can't because the law just isn't there. And it was very infuriating, but it made me recommit to this because I felt like, well, if the law is the problem, then let's go to Congress and change it.
And I know you went through the Just Democrat process. Can you tell us how they found you in the first place?
Yes, so my high school teacher and mentor, John Bailly, he was the one that nominated me. John has been a very
they're gonna take off,
influential
yeah,
person in my
they're gonna
life.
take off.
From the moment I stepped in his classroom, he recognized my fiery passion for social change and giving back to my community. And he really, he nurtured it. I told him I wanted to be a lawyer, and he sat me down and, started going through LSAT practice questions and stuff because I was going to go to law school after college. And throughout college, throughout law school, he's always been a great mentor. And just like him, there are so many other educators in South Texas that do the same thing for their students. And they aren't getting paid that much, which is, ridiculous. And we're not investing in our schools. We're not investing in our children. So then what are we doing? What are we doing? We need to stand up and invest in our communities.
So, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ayanna Pressley, you're taking out a Democratic incumbent, and obviously they were vastly underestimated to the great regret of the incumbents who ran against them. And here you are again. Now, Cuellar, again, is not only Trump's favorite Democrat, and he's been given that title, but he was also given the title of Big Oil's favorite Democrat. And so you couldn't find a more corporate Democrat to run against, and you couldn't find a more compelling story than having your teacher nominate you through justdemocrats.com/nominate, and now you're on your path. So, Jessica, last question for you. Nonetheless, he's going to way outraise you, right? So they've also blocked your ability to use any other Democratic organization, consultant or otherwise. You wouldn't want Democratic consultants giving you advice on policy, then you'd lose. But there are other services that are offered, and that has now been cut off because of the DCCC's decision to back corporate Democrats and incumbents exclusively, no matter how conservative they are.
Decision, I think, is very generous to them. They're undemocratic and weak actions, I would say.
Yes, that was Sherry Bustos and the entire Democratic leadership, because they don't want real people like Jessica in office. They want corporate, corrupt Democrats like Cuellar, and they've made their bed. That's clear. But it does make your job harder. So what's your plan for defeating it?
My plan is to simply go and talk to the people of South Texas and talk about Cuellar's lackluster record. And it's unfortunate that the DCCC is taking a position like that because, again, they're saying it under the pretext of protecting Democratic seats. But again, you have someone like Cuellar who is fundraising for Republicans, and that has serious consequences. John Carter was reelected, and instead we could have had a Democrat in that seat, and we don't because thanks to Henry Cuellar.
Yeah, and by the way, that seat that Cuellar cost the Democrats, it wasn't like it was a 10, 20-point blowout. No. It was 51-48. Barely lost. The reason the Republicans won that seat is because of a turncoat like Cuellar. So he's not on our team in any way, shape, or form. Even if you were in the party of, in the camp of, if he's got a D on his helmet, no matter what. No, he actively fought against fellow Democrats. No excuse whatsoever. All right, everybody check out Jessica Cisneros for Congress.com, and obviously Jessica Cisneros for Congress.com/donate. That's the most important. Today we got $100,000. $1, $3, $27 I hear is a good number. If you got more, God bless your heart, do it. $100. Let's take out Trump's favorite man in the Democratic Party. Jessica, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Gracias, y'all. Thank you for talking to me.
Gracias.
All right, we're going to take a quick break now. When we come back, down goes Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Why? What the hell's going on? We're gonna put an end to it until we figure out. We'll say it in plenty of time. This is a really important position, and then they'll have time to interview some folks and have it back up ready to go when the announcement happens. Here, as usual, they're like, okay, who's going to replace it? I don't know. Didn't think about it. So it does seem a little abrupt. Now, everything is abrupt in the Trump world, but if there's no acrimony, it's weird that it's abrupt. You see what I'm saying? So what's happening soon? Now, we're getting into speculation, but Hope Hicks is testifying soon, and she was incredibly close to Donald Trump, and she's going to go testify in the House next week.
Yeah, she'll lie under oath, and there'll be no consequences.
Nah, but remember, look.
Let's keep it real, guys. Let's keep it real. Nothing is gonna happen. Nothing is gonna happen. Trump will be in office until he's hopefully elected out of office. And even if he gets reelected, Democrats aren't going to do anything. They will have these hearings, and they'll, what do they call it? They'll punch their own chest, they'll puff themselves up and pretend like they're tough guys and they're doing something. They're not going to do jack. You know how this ends. Okay,
so to back up your point, today, Nancy Pelosi came out and said that Donald Trump has been involved in a criminal cover-up for a long time. So they said, oh, okay, so then are you going to impeach? And she said, oh, no. Well, then don't say it's a criminal cover-up. Because then you're saying, I am purposely abdicating my duty. I know he has committed crimes. I just told you he has committed crimes. And in that case, we are supposed to pursue impeachment for high crimes and misdemeanors. But I'm not going to do that because I don't want to do my job, because I think that it will hurt me politically. Now, her calculation, as always, is completely wrong. I mean, when's the last time she's ever got a political calculation right? So
no, she gets some. Look, I want to be fair. She does get some political calculations right, like accusing Trump of being part of a cover-up, and then having that meeting with him where he has a temper tantrum and rushes out of the room, in a fit of rage. Those types of political calculations I enjoy. They're great. But when push comes to shove, when it comes to issues that really matter, she does show this unbearable level of weakness that I can't stand. And you're right. You keep talking about how terrible he is. You keep talking about how you think he's breaking the law. But why are you saying that you're not going to push forward with impeachment? And why are people still arguing that you're a genius? That's what I don't get, right? A genius wouldn't do that.
So when I say her political calculations have never paid off, I mean largely policy victories.
Okay, that's
like
fair.
Cute little, theatrics, whether it's her or Schumer. Who cares? It's okay, it's fine. We celebrated it on that day, but it's not a real accomplishment. Getting policy passed is a real accomplishment. So anyway, bottom line is Sarah Huckabee Sanders is leaving. We don't know this is something she knows that we don't yet know that could go on to explode. We don't have a solid indication of that now. And to Anna's point, even if Donald Trump shot someone on Fifth Avenue and Sarah Huckabee Sanders knew about it, what difference would it make? Nancy Pelosi likely wouldn't go for impeachment anyway.
Moving on to some other news, an update to a story we did yesterday. During an ABC interview with Donald Trump, he admitted, after this lengthy special counsel investigation, that if he were approached by a foreign government with opposition research against his opponent, he might look at it, and he might not even report it to the FBI, which is against the law. And so now you have all of his lackeys in the media lining up to defend him and trying to convince the American people that what you heard